Sir, paleography, as we know, focuses on the later form and the evolution of a script, and is intimately associated with deciphering and studying the inscription. Can you elucidate this?
See, actually, paleos means old, and graph is later writing. So, old writing, study of old writing, rather old writings are paleographs, and study of old writings is paleography, as is epigraphy. Epis is surface, graph means writing, so any study of the writing on surface is epigraphy. And these two terms, in the context of any geographical or chronological frame, are intensely interrelated in the sense that if you want to decipher an inscription, you will have to know the script, and after you know the script, you have to know the language which is the part of the inscription. This is actually the essence of the inscription, without which you cannot decipher it. So, paleography and epigraphy are always closely related. Paleography in the Indian context has a long history. Now, as we know, the discovery of our civilization, that Indians started writing in the historic period from the mature or phase onwards. Earlier, it was believed that writing evolved in India only with the appearance of Ashokan poetry. But now we know that it starts from the mature phase. But as far as historical writing in India is concerned, it of course starts from 3rd century BC from Ashokan inscriptions, as you all know. And if you see from here onwards, the Ashokan inscriptions and the post-Ashokan inscription till the medieval inscriptions, these are written in a wide variety of scripts, as we will now discuss, and a wide variety of language as well. So, apart from the script, you have to know the compositional element of an inscription in order to decipher this. And only compositional element, understanding of the compositional element will not help unless you know the script. That's why the interrelationship of paleography and epigraphy. To elucidate with the exemplify with the Ashokan inscriptions, these are written in different varieties of Prakrit, as you all know. It was initially thought that it had the language of the Ashokan inscriptions had 4 regional varieties. Recently, so Richard Solomon has questioned that this is not 4 actually. There are 3 regional varieties of the Prakrit language in which Ashokan inscriptions were written, apart from these extraneous scripts and languages like Aramaic and Greek. And also Kursive. If we talk of the Indian language, these are 3 varieties of the Prakrit: northeastern, northwestern, western, and eastern variety of Prakrit, and our variety of Prakrit. And based on these, we it is generally believed that Ashokan inscriptions were written in a monumental script. We still believe it. But if we consider the wide variety of the language used in Ashokan inscriptions, we will see that there might be minor local variations in the script, as it can be illustrated shortly. So, in understanding inscriptions in any context, any geographical or chronological context, this understanding of script is quintessential. This is the issue.
Sir, there are many inscriptions which are undated, and we often hear that paleography helps us at least roughly to date the inscriptions. Is it true? And if yes, then how do you do this?
See, actually, most of the inscriptions, we look at the entire South Asian corpus of inscriptions, most of them are undated inscriptions. You do not have precise dates in calendrical years on inscriptions themselves. Either these are completely undated or They are dated in terms which we are not certain of. Say for example, an inscription is dated in the ruling year of a king, as it happens mostly in Eastern India or even in other parts of the country. You have to know two things. One is the historical context within which the inscription occurs, and the second one is the script in which the inscription is written. Only paleography is not always helpful in understanding the exact or the range of dates of inscriptions, but if you have an idea of the historical context within which the concerned inscriptions are written, you can of course date them with the help of paleography. Why is not paleography individually helpful in this? Because paleography, as we know, every script, even if you take the case of modern Indian scripts do not change overnight. It is our tendency not to move the pen from the surface that primarily makes the script change. We have a tendency of writing continuously, which we call cursive writing. And this is the reason that script changes precisely. Primary reason. There are of course other reasons we will see. But this is the primary reason that we come to know how the scripts change. And this change takes place only over a given span of time. I would suggest a couple of centuries. So, within a couple of centuries, the intricacies of the changes in script are difficult to understand. This can be only helpful when you have a general historical context of inscription learning. If you know that, then this paleography of course acts as a very useful supplementary tool in understanding the dates of inscriptions.
So, sir, you were talking about the scripts. So, what is the methodology of deciphering these scripts?
See, the methodology demands explication because for us, the people who have already, the scholars of modern world who already have in their disposition a large number of inscriptions deciphered, for them the methodology is basically to go from known to unknown. You have to study the scripts that are known and then you have to proceed towards the unknown. But if you consider the pioneers who deciphered the scripts, how did they do? Was it the same? It is usually believed, some people believe that it was not so. It was actually so. They also went from known to unknown. Say for example, the famous case of the decipherment of BRAHMI and Kharoshthi, James Prince.
I guess these two are the earliest scripts.
These two are the earliest scripts of India. And James Prince, as we all know, the assistant assay master of the Calcutta Mint, he had deciphered this. He worked continuously for more than a decade and ultimately deciphered the script in 1857. But how did Prince do? Did he decipher the Ashokan script from Ashokan script itself? No. If you see the history of the development of Indian paleographic studies, which is not generally studied separately from Indian epigraphic studies, if you see the history of paleographic studies as well, Charles Wilkins was the first person who published inscriptions in the late 18th century Asian journal, and then a number of inscriptions were published in the journals until James Prince started his research. But these inscriptions were mostly late inscriptions, as they happened to surface from different parts of the country. But Prince, what he did, he started a new methodology. Since he was the assay master of the Mint, he had in his disposal a number of early coins with biscriptural legends, coins with legends on both sides. And one of the sides had legends in Greek alphabet, which was known to Prince. The other side, which contained either Kharoshthi or BRAHMI, these were not known to him. what he started doing, he started comparing the Greek part with the corresponding BRAHMI or Kharosthi. And based on the decipherment of the Greek letters, he tried to read the corresponding BRAHMI or Kharosthi letters. Again, the prerequisite is a knowledge of language, because Prince knew the language in which these inscriptions are written. He knew that these are written in either Prakrit or Sanskrit. Otherwise, if you do not know that Satras means king and Maharaja in Sanskrit means king, how do you compare the letter forms in Satras and Maharaja?
It would not be possible.
It would not be possible. So, the basic methodology is to go from unknown to known, from known to unknown, and then decipher in stages from late to the early varieties, as did Prince. So this is primarily the methodology, but it also has its ramifications. You have to not only looking at the script itself and corresponding known letters and knowledge of the language, but you have to also know the contexts in which the connections, actual contexts in which the inscriptions are occurring. Otherwise, the paleography is meaningless unless you know the context of historical inscription under which it occurs.
Sir, can you show us some examples? How do you decipher the scripts?
Actually, the work of decipherment has already been done by our pioneering predecessors. Of course, in fact, without examples, we cannot explain how the
What is the method?
paleography is deciphered. So, I would rather like to illustrate this with examples. So, if you look at the Indian alphabet, the structure of the Indian alphabet, although actually keeping aside the debates on whether the Indian alphabet really represents a true alphabet, that's a debated linguistic issue. I'm not getting into that. If you look at the general structure of the Indian alphabet, it has 4 different elements. You have the full vowels, then you have the medial vowels added to consonants, then you have the full consonants, and then these consonants are joined to form ligatures and conjuncts. This is the general structure of the Indian alphabet. Among the consonants, we have 5 different kinds of sounds: the guttural sounds, the ka class of letters, the palatal sounds, the retroflex sounds, the dental sounds, and the labial sounds. All these groups of vargas of sounds are again divided into voiced and unvoiced versions: the nasal sounds, the semi-vowels, and the sibilants. This is the general structure of the consonant of the Indian script. Now, if we take a look at the earliest Indian inscriptions, rather the Indian scripts, from which all the modern South Asian and Southeast Asian scripts have evolved, this is its appearance in terms of the structure of the alphabet that we had envisaged. The earliest scripts appearing on the inscriptions of Ashoka in terms of that structure: the guttural sounds, the palatal sounds, the retroflex, dental and labial. These are the basic consonants of the Ashokan script. I'm not getting into the details of the vowels because we'll be seeing those in the next stage. So from this onwards, unless we understand the actual systemic of this particular script, the earliest of the scripts of India, it will not be possible for us to understand what you call the evolution of scripts. This is of primary importance. Going to the next one. This is the actual appearance of the script, the famous Ruminde pillar inscription of Ashoka, and it is a very good specimen for practicing early Brahmi. You can read the whole script without any hindrance because it is written by the royal scribe, and this structure, this systemic structure of the script, I'll explain what I mean by systemic structure later. This systemic structure prevails almost throughout the Ashokan dominion without any major deviance from the structure that we see here. I am showing this because this is the best example of the whole set of Ashokan inscriptions. We also have many other examples, but this is the best one. Here it records Ashoka's visit to Lumbini, where Buddha was born. The text of the inscription has recently been debated by some scholars, but the primary purpose of this inscription was to record Ashoka's visit to the place of Buddha's birth. Right. The next one. From 2nd century BCE onwards, after the decline of the Maurya rule, we find gradual change in the early Indian Brahmi script, the historical script of India. And these changes occurred in different terms, of which the first, as Ahmed Hassan Dani has rightly suggested, was changes in the contemporary Greek paleography that largely influenced the writing of the Indian subcontinent from 2nd century or 1st century BCE onwards. The first one was the development of paleography in Greek script. Then, of course, the decline of the Maurya polity, which actually was responsible for the monumental nationalistic Brahmi script that we see in Ashokan inscriptions. After the decline of the Maurya rule, this structure collapsed, with not only with polity but also with other aspects of culture, of which script or writing is an integral part. Secondly, we have, as I just said, the Ashokan inscriptions are written in Prakrit language. From 1st century BC onwards, we have gradual appearance of Sanskrit as an epigraphic language. By the middle of 2nd century, we see that Prakrit is being completely replaced, almost completely replaced by Sanskrit. And from 3rd century BC onwards, we have, from C onwards, we have even the development of a special language for writing inscriptions, which is usually called epigraphical hybrid Sanskrit, or EHS. The fourth factor was the growth of provincial political cultures, as I have called it, because after the decline of the Maurya, we have several regional cultures. As it happens after the fall of central powers, there were several local regional cultures under which script was appearing on inscriptions, the Brahmi script, and this also influenced the change of scripts from 1st century BCE. And finally, the variation in the content and purpose of the inscription. This was, to me, the most primary factor in making the script evolve, the Brahmi script evolve. These are Greek coins, in the Greek coins, on which you have Brahmi and Kharosthi scripts. Here I have plotted elements from Brahmi script. If you see the scripts, each of the letters starting from the Omicron to the Rho to the Epsilon, all these letters, these are having from now onwards, 1st century onwards, if you see all the scripts, they are having two tendencies. One is this circular form is being converted to a square one, and the second one is, you see, if you compare this with this one, the ends of the letters, the terminal points of the letters are having blots on it. This is because the scripts were written in their areas, in those geographical regions, areas where Greek was the lingua franca. There, they were used to writing with reed pen, kind of a pointed pen, which, when written on a surface, would result blotting on papers at the terminal points of the letters. Whenever you write an akshar, the initial and the terminal points will have blots of inks from that reed pen. That reed pen technology was being converted on metal or stone or whatever with the surface of writing inscriptions. That's why you see these blots. These blots did not happen automatically. These were actually copied from the ink blots that were characteristic of writing on surface like papers. You see this resulting in the formation, in the change of the systemic of the script. What do I understand by systemic? If you see this room in the inscription that you have just seen, here you have, if you take a snap, if you take a photograph of the inscription and we juxtapose that photograph with this one, which is dated to the 2nd century BC, the famous Vaishnava pillar inscription, you will see that this Sir has assumed this form. It's a clear departure from this one, where you have the breadth of the script extending and the length reducing, while here you have a rectangular outline, here you have a complete square outline. If you remember the change from circular to square in the Greek alphabet. The same is true for Bo. Not Bo, it's Ho. And now we have formation of new ligatures which were absent, conditioned by the necessities of the language used in Ashoka inscriptions. Now we have appearance of new phonemes. So I have pointed 3 major changes. One is square form of the akshara, the angularity of the script, and appearance of new phonemes. This is the Hathigumfa inscription of 1st century BCE. The photograph is not very clear, I'm sorry, but here we see the first evidence of a complete change from Ashokan inscriptions. We have also some other minor examples, but of the large inscriptions, Hathigumfa is the foremost, where we have this change, the 3 changes that I had pointed out in the last slide. These are manifested for the first time completely on this inscription. Here you have the evidence of that reed pen style. All the letters, if you see the letters, all the terminal points of the aksharas are having blots, having dots, which are actually not original dots. These have been manipulated, these have been made to be so, because they were copying this, they were just imitating the reed pen style with which they were accustomed in their own regions. And now you have this not only on coins, but also on inscriptions. This is one inscription from Mathura, where you have the same blot at each of the points, and these blots are also responsible for the formation of what we now understand as matra. The head marks are also now developing. If you look at them, the vertical elements are having head marks always at the top of the letter. That also resulted in the formation of the head mark, which will gradually be converted into a serif or matra. What were the results? The results were development of the foremost result was the development of a number of regional styles. Now we have, unlike the Ashokan inscription, quite a large number of regional styles of writing characterizing inscriptions all over the subcontinent. Then you have new symbols. Why? Because the language has changed. The introduction of Sanskrit has now necessitated the introduction of new phonemes, as we saw for the first time in the Vaishnava inscription itself as early as the 2nd century BCE. From 1st century CE onwards, from the 1st century BCE juncture onwards, we have a large number of such new symbols appearing on the inscriptions. Therefore, this was the second major result. The third one was the introduction of head mark, as I showed. In Ashokan inscription, you had no head mark. The letters were clearly written, but now onwards, you have different kinds of head marks, which were actually the result of imitation of the reed pen style. And then, large number of medial vowels. Why was it? Because the writing styles were diversifying under different regional schools of writing. H. Dani, he talks of these regional schools in Middle Brahmi, what he called Middle Brahmi, in the 1st century BCEC, from 1st century BCEC juncture onwards. Ashokan Brahmi, which was earlier called Ashokan Brahmi or Mourya Brahmi, is now called Early Brahmi because D.C. Circa suggested that it was not Ashoka himself who wrote inscriptions in Brahmi alone. Also other contemporary rulers, his descendants, they also use the same script. So it's better to call it Early Brahmi as a more generic terminology, and he preferred the terminology of early, middle and late for what earlier thought as Mourya, Kushan and Gupta Brahmi. So it is more or less generally accepted now that these three evolutionary stages be called Early Brahmi, Middle Brahmi and Late Brahmi. In the Middle Brahmi, Ahmed Hasan Dani detects these 6 regional schools of writing, one in Mathura, one in the northwestern part of the country, one in central India, then one in northwestern Deccan, in eastern India and in southern India. You have 6 different regional schools which were characterizing, which were showing evidence on the changes that we just talked about. And this resulted in the formation of a script which is completely different from what we saw in the Ashokan inscription. If you take a snap of this and compare that snap with the Ashokan inscription, it's a complete change. The 2 snaps do not match. This is simply what I call the systemic change, not individual paleographic changes. This curve is getting from this rectangular outline to that square outline, and this curve is having this angular element instead of that curvilinear element. These are not the changes. If you take a look at the script as a whole, if you see the structure of the concentric, if you concentrate on the structure of the consonants, this set is a complete departure from what you saw in the Ashokan inscriptions. And this is the general structure, this is the normalized general structure of the Middle Brahmi in northern India. We have to remember that this is the example only of northern India. We have now, at least as I just showed, 6 regional variations where you have different manifestations of this systemic change in different manners because of the development of the regionalism in scripts. From this time onwards, from the 1st century BCE till the 4th century CE, this is the second stage of evolution of Brahmi from middle to late. As we saw from the 3rd till the 1st, the development from early to middle, here is the next one. And here the factors that were responsible for the evolution of script are different from what we saw earlier. Here the first factor is the development of the cursive style. From now onwards, because of extreme regionalization of scripts, I will show you the regionalization, nature of regionalization.
This is after 4th century CE.
This is from 4th century CE. In the 4th century, you have these changes, these factors finally affecting the script. These factors were affecting the script between the 1st century CE and the 4th century CE when we have the final appearance of the late Brahmi. Here you have the first factor as the cursive style of writing that I first talked about when you asked me about the reasons of methodology of understanding scripts. Then I talked about the cursive style. Because of extreme regionalization and also formation of new symbols, people are now writing in cursive styles. They are not taking the pen out from the surface. So, new forms, shorter forms of the letters which are completely different from the normalized versions, they are appearing on inscriptions. This was one. Then as I said, regionalization, more symbols because of the development of epigraphical hybrids in script now. And now the composers of inscriptions have a curious fondness for flourishes. They are not writing Ka simply as a cross or even as a cross with a head mark. they are not satisfied with that. Now they are making curvatures, now they are making flourishes designs on the simple appearance of a letter. And then diverse material. And finally, this is the appearance of the script. Here you can see, as Ahmed Hassan Dani shows, now you have different types of head marks characterizing scripts in different parts of the country. You also have this fondness for flourishes, like the medial vowels are not being added as simple angular lines, they are being devised as curvilinear designs. And also you have a tendency of cursive writing, as you can clearly see in this form of verb or as in this form of cha. These are head marks, flourishes, cursive style, and then the medial vowels, if you remember the points. These are the formation of the medial vowels. Unlike the Ashokan Brahmi, where you had or the early Brahmi, where you had a particular formula for adding medial vowels, here you have different types of medial vowels being added to the letters. This was also a result finally of the regionalism factor. And finally you have this as evolution from early till the late via the middle Brahmi formation. And these evolutionary sequences are not visible only in terms of individual letters but also in ligatures, where you have this here finally making appearing in this form via this evolutionary sequence. And this is the regional nature of regionalism that we see in late Brahmi. You have many styles. In H. Dani's terminology, you have a script family from the Indus zone, one from Mathura, one from Sanchi, one from Kaushambi, one in Eastern India, one in inner Madhya Pradesh. We also have several other regional variations, and there again, systemic remains almost the same, but the paleography is completely changed. So now we have two layers of changes. One is systemic, another is the regionalization, that is paleography. So finally in late Brahmi you have these as regional varieties of scripts. As many as 9 such regional varieties are being explained by Ahmed Hassan Dani, starting from Indus zone via Mathura, Sanchi, from Kaushambi, from Eastern India, from inner Madhya Pradesh, from Eastern Malwa, from Northeast Rajasthan, from Southeast Deccan. You have these 9 regional varieties of the late Brahmi, which are appearing in the 4th century CE. And this is the structure of the script. Here I have shown the differential appearance of the differential use of the medial vowels, and here I have shown the structure of the consonants. Now again, if you take a snap of this and juxtapose this against the one that we saw in Middle Brahmi, these are widely different. They are completely separated from each other. And this is what I say systemic. The whole structure of the script has changed. But remember that this is only the Middle Ganga Valley variety of the script. You have, as you have just saw, as I have just seen, the enormous number of regional variations, of which Middle Ganga Valley is only one. So you have now 2 layers of evolutionary change. One is the systemic of the script, the entire structure of the script. The second one is regional paleographic varieties or variations. These are the ligatures that you have, where all the factors, the cursive writing style, the formation, rather the appearance of flourish, the formation of new symbols, formation of new medial vowels, and formation of new ligatures. All these can be seen in these different forms of the ligatures, which are taken from the 4th and 5th century CE Gupta inscriptions of Middle Ganga Valley and Northern India. This is an example of the actual inscription from middle of the valley, the famous Kahaum inscription of Skandagupta, where you can see the head mark, the fondness for flourish, the differential varieties of differential use of the medial vowel, and again the flourish of the medial vowels, and also the cursive style of writing. You have clear a letter written as a continuous form starting from the top to the bottom, and here the head mark has been intentionally created, right? This is not an original head, and this is one of the Eastern Indian varieties of the same script that you have in the 6th century CE. Here you can see almost everything remains same. If you see this and get back to the earlier one, you see almost everything is more or less same except the head mark, which was there, a solid triangle. Here it's a solid bar, which is characterizing script in Eastern India. So you have the regional paleographic differences in the script. Now here you see finally the systemic change. This is early Brahmi, this is middle Brahmi, and this is late Brahmi. You see this one, and then place it against this, it's completely different. You see this one, place it against this one, it's completely different. So that's how from the 3rd century BCE till the 4th century CE, you have a linear evolution of Brahmi script in northern India. You have to remember that from middle Brahmi onwards, this unilinear pattern is completely lost, as you have several regional varieties of scripts. But even within the regional varieties, you can have unilinear patterns of evolution. This is the general methodology that we follow in understanding the evolution of scripts from the earliest of the Brahmi until its latest version in the 4th century CE. And this is how the script is making a final departure from the most mature version of Brahmi, and regional scripts. Those were regional variations of the same script, the earlier ones from middle Brahmi till late Brahmi. But here it not only remains confined within the limit of regional variation of a particular script, it becomes a regional script itself. Here, as you have seen the Haraha inscription of Isanavarman in the 2nd century, in the 6th century CE, now you have a completely different script characterizing the inscription, and this marks the advent of Siddhamatrika from Brahmi, starting from the ligatures to the formation of the medial vowels and the formation of the letters themselves. Now we have a complete change in the whole structure of the script, which is a departure from Brahmi to Siddhamatrika. From now onwards, we have a large number of regional scripts which were first noticed precisely by Abu Rayhan al-Biruni in the 11th century, who talked of, as we all know, 11 different regional scripts, of which the Eastern Indian scripts, Siddhamatrika, Vaikshiki and Gaudi, they were foremost.